Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. And also welcome to December. Yes, that's right, December. I'm going to be playing a fair few Dark Depths decks over the next month because I do like a nice pun and December is a pretty good one in my opinion. Alright, so the deck we're playing today is called Rainbow Depths. Mainly named because it's got these 8 rainbow lands in it, so we can dip into blue to cast some spells outside of the normal black-green that you'd expect to see in a Dark Depths type deck. So this deck is just aiming to assemble Dark Depths with either Thespian Stage or Vampire Hexmage as quickly as possible and then kill your opponent with a 20/20. Our entire deck is dedicated to making this happen. So we've got 8 bits of fast mana to help accelerate that out. We've got 8 tutors in the form of Sylvan Scrying and Crop Rotation. And we've got things like Not of This World to protect our Marit Lage token when we eventually make it. And then we've got a little bit of disruption here in the form of Stifles, which can usually hit Wastelands, but can hit other things like Karakas as well. 6 discard effects. The reason we're going for Inquisition of Kozilek is because a lot of removal tends to be lower down on the curve, apart from Solitude, which Duress doesn't hit anyway. And this can also hit things like White Plume Adventure out of the new Stompy decks. Then we have these Pithing Needles, which are just going to be naming Wasteland most of the time, but they might sometimes name Karakas or something else. They're relatively flexible. Then we've got these Not of This World that protect our guys. So we're pretty dedicated to what we're doing, and we've got a few little silver bullets that don't give us an option to do something else with our deck, but they do kind of find a way through whatever our opponent's doing. So we have a Bojuka Bog, which is pretty much standard for any crop rotation deck, because it just lets you at instant speed try and beat reanimated decks. A Boseiju, which we can shoot for with Sylvan Scrying to blow up problem permanents. We've got a Ghost Quarter, because we can't really run Wastelands because we're going to be naming them with Pithing Needle, but sometimes we might need to blow up a land, so Ghost Quarter's good for that. That could be something like a Maze of Ith, so we can shoot for that way. Obviously, Boseiju can blow up stuff like that as well. A Sejiri Steppe to give our guy protection, which can either protect it or help it sail through for damage. And then we've got our Yavimaya and Urborgs. Now, the Urborgs are just there because they can make the combo come out quicker. So we can do turn 2 with Urborg, Dark Depths, and Hexmage. And they can also fix our mana for our black spells. And we have 1 Yavimaya because making our Dark Depths tap for mana is quite useful. And that's pretty much it for the main deck. We're very dedicated. It's kind of like playing a puzzle game because you have to assemble all the right pieces as well as the protection. So it's kind of a fun one that appeals to the sort of ex-chess player. I used to play quite a lot of chess when I was younger. And I just kind of like puzzling my way through things a bit. So we're going to give this a go today. I used to play sort of black-green slow depths quite a few years ago, and things have moved on a lot since then, so we'll see how things lie. Sideboard-wise, we've got a couple of removal spells for creatures. We've got 4 Leylines to mess with our opponent's graveyard. Some people run a split between Leylines and Surgicals. I just want the Leylines, I think, here, because we don't really have a way of discarding cards or brainstorming our cards into something better anyway. If we were running Brainstorm in this deck, then I would run 2 Surgicals, 2 Leylines. But I think just having the Leylines is fine. We want the best graveyard hate to buy as many turns as we can. We've got a couple of Force of Vigors to blowing up problem permanents. We have a couple of Sylvan Safekeepers, which is our way of having even more answers to removal. Flusterstorm can do a similar thing as well as beat decks that are faster than us, like Storm. Collector Ouphe, we do have some of our own artifacts. But when we're bringing in Collector Ouphe, it's going to be so much better against them that it doesn't matter that it can shut off our Lotus Petals. So this is things like 8-cast and Storm. And we have this Tower of the Magistrate, which sometimes having a Sejiri Steppe to give our guy protection isn't actually going to help. Whereas giving it protection from artifacts can certainly do that. So if somebody's producing lots and lots of Thopters, we can sail through the Thopters that way. So that's more or less it for the deck. I'm a little bit rusty on this, but I did used to play it, so hopefully we can have a pretty good league this time around. Alright, before we jump into it, let me just say, if you can subscribe to my channel, it really helps me out and costs you nothing. And if you've already subscribed, likes and comments help bump up the algorithm and get more people to see my content. I make, 5 Legacy leagues a week that I put up, so there's plenty of things for people to watch. And if you like Legacy, which I think is the best format of Magic the Gathering, then I very much like your support. All right, without any further ado, let's jump into a league with Rainbow Depths. Okay, we're on the draw for round 1. We don't have any protection here, but we do have the ability to find both our combo pieces. Now against a blue deck, this can prove troublesome still. How quickly can we go? So we can go Urborg into second land. So 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana. We can sack them both, paying 2 first. So this makes a 20/20 on turn 2, I believe. As long as we don't get counterspelled. I think we keep this. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. So this gives me the impression that our opponent could be on a Reanimator deck. Or something relatively combo related. Because those decks tend to mulligan a bit harder. Okay, so this is giving me the impression that our opponent's running Doomsday. A Thoughtseize. Okay. I suspect we probably lose a crop rotation here, but they might go after mana. But I think it probably is the crop rotation they take. Okay, they took some of the mana. Okay, this leaves us with only 1 green source outside of the Mana Confluence. So we can't use the Urborg to cheat on mana by tapping the Dark Depths. Let's see what we draw. We drew a Dark Depths. Okay. We play out our Lotus Petal. And we can play out our Mana Confluence here. And then crop rotation gives us our lad next turn. So if this is Doomsday, as I suspect, they shouldn't really have a lot in the way of interaction with what we're doing. A Ponder. So I think we will cast our crop rotation now. Now this can be counterspelled. Okay, it was not counterspelled. So we get a Thespian stage here. We just need 1 more mana to make our creature. A Thoughtseize. Okay, that is worth taking a turn off, I believe. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent here. See if we can confirm what I suspected our opponent was playing. Okay, this could be a Brainstorm. Oh. A Volcanic Island. Maybe they're not playing Doomsday. There is the Brainstorm. Maybe they're on some sort of just Grixis control and they just had a particularly bad set of draws to begin with, so they had to mulligan quite deep to find a playable hand. Let's see what we find here. What are they going to offer up? Oh, okay. So they are an Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck. So I think the correct play here is to take the Ad Nauseam. But if they're offering it up, that's quite strange to me. Maybe I should be taking the Brainstorm instead. So they can only get 1 card deeper if I take the... If I take the Brainstorm here, they just draw 1 more card. It's so strange that they've just offered up this Ad Nauseam like this. I'm going to take the Brainstorm. So we can cover a Past in Flames line with our crop rotation, but they have Duress. A Wishclaw Talisman. Okay. So we have our 20/20 next turn. So our opponent basically has to kill us this turn. Is there anything we want to do? I don't think it's worth using our crop rotation. Okay, so they're using the Wishclaw Talisman now to shuffle their library. So they need something, as well as a Wishclaw Talisman, they need a... As well as the card from the Wishclaw Talisman, they need something different than the card that was on top of their deck. So they could Ritual Ad Nauseam here. Ritual number 1. Ritual number 2. And there's the Ad Nauseam. Interesting. Did I just get double bluffed by them presenting the Ad Nauseam to me? Past in Flames doesn't do it. Ponder. Veil of Summer. Okay, cool. That was a particularly naff looking one. There's no starting mana at all there. Right, we did force them into a position where they had to combo. Anyway, let's go into the sideboard. So we get to bring in these Collector Ouphe, which shut down our opponent's like Lotus Petals and Lions Like Diamonds. We get these Flusterstorms, which are pretty good. The Leylines definitely have some text on them because they're a Past in Flames deck. And Sylvan Safekeeper, they might be boarding in some amount of bounce effects. Now this is an awful lot of cards to be looking at. Stifle also does hit the Storm trigger, which is certainly something. These Pithing Needles can name the Wishclaw Talisman, so they're pretty good. That's what we're looking at here. I don't think we're going to need some of these lands. How low can we cut on lands is the question. Is the Sylvan Safekeeper better than Not of This World? Probably not. And I don't think we need ley lines here. So we're still trying to fit these 4 cards in. So we can afford to go a little bit slower in terms of some of the things we're doing. So maybe we're boarding out petals for Collector Ouphes. But being able to make a turn 1 Collector Ouphe is pretty nice. But we do still have the Spirit Guides. I think we board out the petals and just keep maximum disruption and have our combo in this way. So we're slightly slower on mana here, but we've got more interaction. Although the petals do help us cast our blue spells. Interesting. Pithing Needle on Wishclaw. Still fine. I think we'll try like this and see how we go. We can always readjust for game 3 if that happens. Like we are on the draw this time, so we are unfavoured, I would say, because Storm is a faster combo deck than we are. So what does this hand do? This hand just needs to find one of our 8 tutors or the Dark Depths. So we have 12 hits that give us the win. And we can Inquisition our opponent on turn 1. Is that good enough? So we have 2 or 3 draws to find it. We can Bojuka Bog to make Cabal Rituals worse. This hand is not great. 12 draws in 53 cards. So that's what? About 1 in 4-ish. But we also have like things like Thoughtseize and things that are good. I think we can keep this one. It's sort of on the cusp of keepable. Just because we can interact with our opponent's graveyard a little bit as well as their hand. Like we might just draw Dark Depths. We can go turn 1 Urborg, turn 2 Dark Depths and kill them. So I've just realised something, which is quite hilarious. I am running the wrong Urborg in my deck. From the list where I cut and pasted it into my rental thing, it's put the wrong one in. I just thought this was a funny border. Okay, so we are in a much worse position than I thought we were for the entire league. So this will be a fun one. Oh dear. All right, let's see what we can do here. We have an Elvish Spirit Guide, that's fine. I think we're just playing out the Mana Confluence here. All right, we've made things very difficult for ourselves, which is always fun. Wishclaw Talisman. Okay. A Thespian stage. So what we can do here is we can play out this Vampire Hexmage, and we can remove all the counters from Wishclaw Talisman. Because we already have the Thespian stage. Let's see. A Brainstorm, sure. They did play out into us having that, so... Right, so they've finished their Brainstorm and they've got a Swamp. Aligns our Diamond. Dark Ritual. They might be going off this turn. Cabal Ritual. Infernal Tutor. And Cradle aligns our Diamond Response. And then they can go and cast an Ad Nauseam. There it is. Okay, so they've got starting mana, so they've got 3 mana there. They have a Past in Flames. They're pretty close here. Dress Down. Duress. Infernal Tutor should be enough, I think. Oh, they still want something else. Thoughtseize is probably not what they're looking for. Neither was the Meltdown. Brainstorm. So they might be trying to play around a potential Elvish Spirit Guide crop rotation for Bojuka Bog that we have. Which I think will be a very challenging thing for them to try and beat. We don't have that, but... Okay, so there's a Ponder. If they can't go off this turn, they can probably go off next turn because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to provide any pressure here. We do get the Bojuka Bog to make their Past in Flames line worse. Rain of Filth, okay. So that gives them the extra mana they required. A Duress. This doesn't hit because we don't have anything, so now they'll know that the Past in Flames line is fine. So they should be able to just go all in on that. If they want to. Well, they don't even need to, right? They've got the Dark Ritual. I guess the problem is they can't really get Hellbent very easily. So the Infernal Tutor is not going to be able to tutor for anything because they needed a Lion's Eye Diamond, really. Okay, so there's an Infernal Tutor. They're going to reveal something. Probably the Dark Ritual. Oh, just a Brainstorm. Okay. That doesn't strike me as being very good for our opponent in that case. So we're going to clean up. So we're going to see a lot of cards leave their hands. We should be able to work out what is in their hand. So the Meltdown's gone. Bayou's gone. The Forest is gone. Dress Down is gone. The Misty Rainforest is gone. Polluted Delta is gone. Another Misty Rainforest. Verdant Catacombs, Polluted Delta. And some of these brainstorms we've seen multiple times already. So we have the ability to do our crop rotation thing, but we can also Bojuka Bog. So we play this out. We still can't combo this turn, right? Wait, no, we can. If we play out the stage, tap 2, sacrifice, go and get this. Okay, so the question is, are we better off just playing Bojuka Bog here? I think we are. Then we just strip out our opponent's things so they can't do the line. And I think that's probably fine for us there. Our opponent can definitely still win from here. Play out the Thespian stage now. And we just hold up for this crop rotation for end of turn. We don't need to reveal it now. That might well be the Volcanic Island they put back. Let's see what our opponent does. A Brainstorm, sure. It's a good way to start a turn off. We can't go and get a Bojuka Bog with a crop rotation. Polluted Delta. Sacrifice no Polluted Delta. And another Brainstorm. Sure. I think that's like all the Brainstorms from their deck now. Lotus Petal. Okay, here they go. Lion's Eye Diamond. So now their Infernal Tutor is going to do stuff. Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual. That's 7. Another one. Okay, so they Infernal Tutor here, crack the Lion's Eye Diamond, and we're dead. We don't have any lands that stop us dying to Storm. And there's the Tendrils, so we can scoop that up. Alright. How do I feel about this? Do I want these Leylines of the Void? And I didn't really see any bounce stuff going on. So maybe the Not of This World aren't as important. The Lotus Petals look better on the play. Especially since I've got the wrong Urborg in my deck, which is very funny to me. So if we have these Lotus Petals on the play, it means we can power out the Collector Ouphe more easily. I think we are okay to submit like this. This hand is pretty slow, but we do have double disruption, so I think we can keep this one. So Mana Confluence to start, and we will Thoughtseize our opponent. So we got here Infernal Tutor, 2 Lotus, a Lion's Eye Diamond, and a Lotus Petal. I think removing the Tutor gives us the most amount of time here. Means I have to find another tutor of some description. There's the Polluted Delta. They're cracking it. They're almost certainly going to cast Ponder this turn. There it is. So on our end, we're looking for 8 of our tutors, or the 4 Thespian stage, or the 4 Vampire Hexmage. So we've got 16 live draws that can pretty much win us the game. Stifle is another good one. It makes me inclined to play out this Gemstone Mine. So this can stifle a Wishclaw Talisman, or it can stifle the Storm trigger. It can stifle fetch lands as well. So it's a pretty useful card. And this is... Why is it censored that? Weird. This is a Misty Rainforest. Yes, I did not swear at my opponent. Right. I've cracked the Misty Rainforest. There's another Ponder. They did not shuffle a library, so you can definitely do some stuff here. Okay, there's the Lion's Eye Diamond. There's another Lion's Eye Diamond. They haven't seen any of our blue spells yet, so we should probably catch them very unawares here. Type Ritual. Type Ritual. 1 card in hand. It's probably going to be ad nauseum. So I think we cast this. Storm count is 9, so they can't pay even cracking their things. Who's the Storm deck now? So our opponent does have a lot of mana to go off with lines like Diamond lines later down the line, but we've bought ourselves a lot of turns. Now Past in Flames just completely undoes this, which is not great for us, but they have to find it first. So we've got some time. A Karakas. What does Karakas do? Not a lot. So what we could do here is we could play out our Dark Depths and start attacking with our Elvish Spirit Guide. Sorry, not play out Dark Depths, play out our Karakas and attack with an Elvish Spirit Guide. Which I honestly don't hate here. The one play that punishes us is if we draw a Thespian stage next turn. But I'm going to go for this. So, green, white. Let's get the beat down on. If the top card of our opponent's library is Past in Flames, then this play is very bad because they can go off and I won't have the Stifle to hit the Storm trigger. But now we can untap and stick around. So we can play this out. We can go to attacks. Okay, so we're just going to remove a counter from this because we've got a lot of lands going on over here. Okay, that's a pretty good one still. Play this out. Now the one problem is this does make it so we can't play out our Stifle if we do this. But I think putting our guy into play is probably going to work for us quite nicely. A Lotus Petal. Okay. We got the Past in Flames here. This is their turn to go off, so they also haven't shuffled for a very long time. So this forest is still in and around their hand, potentially. Probably went away with the Misty, but it's possible. Black and green. Is this a Wishclaw Talisman? An Infernal Tutor? If it was Infernal Tutor, then I think we lose here. Yikes, it's Infernal Tutor. We don't have our blue mana up for the Stifle. Have they got Peer into the Abyss here? They've just got black mana up. Okay. So they used the red for the Past in Flames there. Yep, so we're going to get punished for trying to make a 20/20 instead of beating down with a Elvish Spirit Guide, which is quite funny to me. It's 5. This is 6. And then they just go and get the tendrils. Sure. A little bit unfortunate there. Oh, they're still going here. Could have just got tendrils in that one because I'm only at 13. Our opponent has told us they are very scared of Veil of Summer right now. Perfectly good thing to be scared of. I don't know if they have a choice here. Oh wow, they've gone for the ad nauseum line. Okay, our opponent might be trying to play around too much here. Okay, so they have a Duress. So they will stop flipping now. No, they're going to carry on flipping. Oh no, they just play themselves into a loss because of the Veil of Summer here. The Veil of Summer we don't have is going to win us the game, potentially. Come on, hit the tendrils now. So they're stopping there. How are they playing on empty in their hand here? A Duress. Wasn't quite Veil, unfortunately. So the line they've taken would have beaten our Stifle anyway. But now they have to brainstorm to try and find tendrils or Lion's Eye Diamond. They found the Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright. So now they can just go and get the... yes, they can play out the Lion's Eye Diamond. And they can play the Infernal Tutor, crack Lion's Eye Diamonds, go and get the Infernal Tutor, the tendrils, and burn us out. Yep. That's us. Right. So holding up our Stifle would not have done it then, so I think we made the right choice. Yeah, we kind of needed our opponent to brick for one more turn, but alas was not to be. Now we have a choice. If we can drop from this league, or we can try and play the fun league with the wrong Urborg. Now, I think it would be remiss of me not to at least try and play it with this wrong land in the deck. surely for the purposes of making some fun screenshots, we should continue. So we're going to go to round 2 and see how we do. This makes a turn 1 2020, I believe. So we have Urborg, Lotus Petal, which allows us to play black, black, green to then go and get the Dark Depths. So we can keep this. If we need to play the Pithing Needle, that's also good too. An Otawara into a Ponder. They chose not to shuffle their library. So we have a choice here. Let's play this out. Let's play this out. Let's play this out. Let's play a Vampire Hexmage. So we have a choice if we make the 2020 now. So we've seen Ponder and Otawara. This could be quite a few different decks. It could be one of these control decks with Wasteland and they're just running Otawara, but I have to imagine they're probably more towards the mono blue. I think we go now. Let's see if this resolves. It does not resolve. There is a Force of Will heading our way. Dress down. Okay. Not sure what our opponent is playing, but we'll find out soon enough. Flooded Strand. Cracking the Flooded Strand. A Savannah. So we're in some sort of bant pile then. A Prismatic Ending. Would I rather have this ended or would I rather have it in my graveyard? If they have some sort of... if they have some sort of like draw 7 effect in there, like there could be some sort of whole breach deck potentially, I'd rather have this in my deck to draw. So I'm going to leave it in my graveyard rather than in exile. A Gemstone Mine. I think I'm just going to play this Bojuka Bog out now. There's some decent stuff in there, graveyard to hit. And this is going to come in tapped. So we may as well get it out of the way now. We don't really know what we're naming with Pithing Needle yet. Could be Wasteland. There it is. Should be Wasteland. Let's see. Okay, they're just casting the Uro here. So we can Pithing Needle the Wasteland next turn. Yeah. So I was right to go for it when I did because our opponent has counter spells in their deck. Wastelands in their deck. But they also have counter spells. So. Oh, another Urborg. You love to see it. Alright, Pithing Needle. Force of Will on the Pithing Needle. Interesting. Okay, so we probably want to play one of our lands out. I guess we play out the Urborg, right? The black source. Sure. It's not the right Urborg, so I don't mind. That's basically the same as Bojuka Bog for me. Our opponent is pondering. They shuffle their library off their ponder. That's our turn. We have a crop rotation, so that's part of the way to where we would like to be. We'll play out the Gemstone Mine so we can cast it if they play another Wasteland and hit us. That's our turn. A Hexmage. Okay. Kind of in a bit of a bind here. We can try and wait until we draw a green or a black source. Alternatively, we can Ghost Quarter ourselves for a forest. Do we have a forest in the deck? We have no basics of any kind. So our Ghost Quarter cannot be used to swap us into green mana. Interesting. I think we have to say go here. And then if our opponent gives us an opportunity, we can always crop rotate away the Ghost Quarter into a Dark Depths and try next turn. A Karakas. Okay. So they're tapping down for an Uro. We've only got 2 cards in hand. So our Ghost Quarter can deal with their Karakas. So we need to find a green source. Or a black source. Not of this world. Okay, so if we'd have done the thing last turn, we'd have been alright. This can counter the Karakas. So I think we're back to untapping. We also have to get 2 hits in with our Dark Depths now, which is pretty annoying. So I think we do have to Ghost Quarter our opponent's Karakas here. It's our turn. A Thespian Stage. This doesn't do the thing we need it to do, but it does allow us to... I think if we play out the Hexmage, then we untap and crop rot. That doesn't really work, does it? No, I think we're still in the holding pattern here. Whilst our opponent is a blue deck that's about to cast an Uro from the graveyard. Not really where I want to be. Misty Rainforest. Tropical Island. So our opponent should be casting an Uro this turn. We can't Bojuka Bog because it's already in play. So what we can do here is we can turn our Thespian stage into a Dark Depths and then try and push through a Hexmage. That's something we have the ability to do this turn. Is it worth doing? Because if we draw any other land, our crop rotation just becomes a lot better. So I think we should just hold up for a land here. A Stifle. That's not doing it for me. I think I'm going to cast this Hexmage now and see if this gets a response from our opponent. Yeah, and Force of Will. Much better to get that Force of Will than the crop rotation. Kind of getting there. Teferi Time Raveler. Okay. So that makes our crop rotation a little bit less good. Also makes our not of this world very good. Not very good, sorry. And we're just going to get beaten down as Uro in pretty short fashion. Boseiju. What does this do? This is a land that we can crop rotate away. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. So the Stifle isn't doing anything. So I think we use the Gemstone Mine here. We sacrifice Gemstone Mine for this to go and get our Dark Depths. We can't cast spells, we can still make the 20/20. The first time it has to come at Teferi, then it has to come at our opponent twice. That's a lot to try and get around. But we don't really have any other choice right now. We have to make this instant speed at our opponent's end step. If our opponent has a wasteland, then we can't really do anything about that. These lists only tend to run 1 to 2 wastelands. Sure. They're bouncing now, using the bounce ability on nothing now. This feels like it's trying to bait me into the getting my Dark Depths killed. See, I can make the Dark Depths and try and kill the Uro here. But if they untap with a prismatic ending or something, I'm going to feel pretty bad about that. Whereas at least if I get the Teferi off the board, I can defend it with my Not of This World. My opponent has quite a lot of lands over there. Life from Malone, targeting 2 Flusterstorm. I have to imagine my opponent's got a Field of the Dead in because they've got a lot of different lands going on. Alright, here goes nothing. This is our last ditch attempt to try and win this game, really. If we get Swords, it buys us some more turns, but our opponent is drawing 2 cards a turn. Sure. We can't Not of This World because it's Teferi. This doesn't do anything for us. We've got a few turns to sit and wait here. Alright, so our opponent's turn. We just yield through it. Pretty much just have 3 blanks on our hand right now. It's our turn. Taking a bit of damage. We have an Urborg. We can play out our Spirit Guide, so at least if they attack, we can try and attack the Teferi and stop it from being able to bounce stuff and maybe allow us to cast our spells, which we can't cast while Teferi's in the play. So we just yield through this turn. Try and get some of this clock back that we are quite far behind on here. This game looks very over to me. So they have us in 4 turns if we can block with the Spirit Guide. Right, got Brainstorm. Our opponent cracked a fetch down and failed to find with it. They probably have Endurance in their deck. Alright, they have a Source of Plowshare, so fine. Put this out and yield through the turn. Okay, our opponent's brainstorming. So we will yield through our opponent's turn because we don't have any plays here. Right, another Uro. They've bashed us up some. Just drawing some more cards here. Putting us in the dirt. We've closed the gap on the clock, which is basically what I was trying to do here. Let's see what we draw. A Thoughtseize. This doesn't actually change the clock, so at least we can get some information about our opponent's deck. See if there's anything unusual in it. Does not look like a particularly easy set of cards to beat for us. Let's take the ending. Reason being, at least the other one gains us life, so they can waste a bit more of their time, I suppose. We're not trying to waste their time, but they are a control deck, so the onus is on them to try and win the game in an expedient fashion. So we can yield through our opponent's turn again. So we're now ahead on clock. We draw for turn. Crop rotation. Let's sacrifice this, and we'll get a counter spell out of this. Otherwise, we get to waste more of our opponent's time. You've got to do what you've got to do when you've got the wrong Urborg in your deck, right? Every little helps. There's the Force of Will. Alright, so this is Bant Control. So being able to dodge removal from Sylvan Safekeepers is going to be good. The Leylines against a Life from Malone deck seem pretty decent here as well. They're a Life from Malone and an Uro deck, so that's 2 points where it can hit. The Pithing Needle is going to be useful. I don't think the Stifle is going to be that useful. We do get to stifle their like Teferi trigger, but I don't think that's good enough. Crop rotations feel a little sketchy against... So they're good against Wasteland, but they're bad against counterspells. So because we have these many slots, and the matchup's going to be slower because of the nature of control decks, I think we can try and run it like this. So this gives us an uncounterable 2020 with a guy that can back it up. With the Not of This World to back it up. So I think this is a keep. So this is the turn 3, I'll make a 2020. Now, the issue with this is that our opponent is a Wasteland deck. So, wait, yeah, it has to be turn... We can make it turn 2, actually, right? Because we have Lotus Petal and Thespian stage here. Yeah, okay. So we have to lead out on the Thespian stage here, I think. This is our piece that we can... We're more able to get this Wastelanded than the other pieces. Let's see what our opponent does here. A snow-covered island, so that's not a Wasteland. Okay, so we'll play out Lotus Petal, see if this resolves. If this doesn't resolve, then we won't play out the Dark Depths. But it did, so we will. A Brainstorm. Sure. Our opponent can have a Wasteland. So potentially we're incentivized to make it now. But if they play out a Wasteland, they might just snap off straight away while we don't have the mana. It's a difficult decision. Okay, they didn't have a Wasteland. So we go to the end step. Exile this. Target this. We have one piece of protection here. We're a little bit all in here, but that is sadly the nature of our deck. Do they have a counterspell for our counterspell? They did not. Cool. So we got one on the board there. I like how I've sideboarded here. I think we'll just resubmit like this. So this combo is a little slow, but it does get there, and we have Pithing Needle as well. So I think we will play this out. So we can turn 2 if we draw a Dark Depths. Let's cast a Pithing Needle. We will name Wasteland. Sorry I have to do it to you, Wasteland, but I don't think we need to play out the Lotus Petal yet. I think we keep it in reserve so our opponent doesn't know quite how much punch we have when the time comes. So next time we can cast Sylvan Scrying, and then the turn after we can make a 2020. We don't have any protection though, so we'd quite like to find some. We don't really have any way of digging to said protection right now though. Prismatic Ending. Okay, so this looks like our opponent might have a Wasteland. A Mana Confluence. We'll play this out. We'll cast a Sylvan Scrying. Our opponent's casting Brainstorm. And I'm going to play out one Lotus Petal so our opponent thinks we have a crop rotation. Which we bought it out because they're bad against counterspells. Ponder. Okay. So trying to get rid of those cards I have with the Brainstorm. Snow-covered Plains. That is not a Wasteland. That's our turn. We can play this out. Depths. Unfortunately, if this was another Urborg, we might be in a different position. So next turn, we can play out the Hexmage. Or we could try the... we have to burn a Lotus Petal right now if we want to make the Hexmage. I think that's worth doing, actually. Because this is the combo that leaves us with the most resources. Because obviously the Thespian stage has to sack itself. Now this might just get a Force of Will. But by having the Hexmage and the Thespian stage, it means we can play around Wasteland. If they have removal and Wasteland, then that's a little bit awkward for us. But there's only so many things you can play around. I think our opponent would have played a Wasteland last turn if they had one, so they would be digging for one now. That's not a Wasteland. So our opponent's end step. I think we try and make a 2020 and say, do you have it or not? The only answer they can have is a Swords to Plowshares, which will certainly make this game last for quite some time. Yep. Plow on our upkeep. Sure. Sylvan Safekeeper. If I'd have waited for a turn, we'd be in a better spot. Them's be the break sometimes. So we will play out this Karakas. Because we don't have... We've got 5 protection spells and some discard. So it was best to try and make them have it. Sadly, they did. There's a Wasteland. Sure. They do not know this trick. My Thespian stage becomes a basic. It blanks their Wasteland. Not a strong play from our opponent there. But they won't make that mistake again. So a learning experience for people involved. Sylvan Scrying. This is a card that I would like to cast. Green, white, Sylvan Scrying, please. Maybe I should have left the Karakas up in case of our opponent casting an Uro. Okay. Let's play out the Gemstone Mine here. Because we've got so much mana, we don't need to play out the Sylvan Safekeeper now. Our opponent's down to 1 card in hand. Hull Breacher. That is a card. Are we getting wheeled? So now we're incentivized to play out a Sylvan Safekeeper. Because it can get wheeled away. And our opponent's hellbent as well. Not of this world. We've got plenty of life to work with, so we'll smash this out. We want to keep our hand as empty as possible, I think, for the purposes of Hull Breach. We may as well have the most amount of resources. And then it's our opponent's turn. If we'd have just waited for that Sylvan Safekeeper, we'd have been alright. Maybe we were too hasty. But if they didn't have it, this game would have been over, so swings and roundabouts, really. Snow-covered forest. You're going to bash us for 3. I haven't seen an endurance from our opponent yet, so they might not have them. I guess we play this out. I don't think... if we attack here and our opponent endurances, that's really bad for us. But if they Uro, I guess they're just going to end up with loads of life anyway. I think we just have to pass here. If we can draw a Dark Depths, we are golden. We did take out our crop rotations though, which might have been an error. Because that would be a very good top deck now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can actually cast Not of This World the hard way. Which is not really where you want to be. We will cast this though. So this means that Uro can't get us. Now, they do still have a 3-2 that's beating us down over the course of a number of turns here. A Brainstorm, sure. Wish I had some of those in my deck. Although I don't really have fetch lands, so not quite so good. A Flooded Strand from our opponent. Cracking to get rid of those bad cards that they have with the old Brainstorm. They're going to bash us for 3. Come on, Dark Depths. That's not the one. We got, what, 8 turns from this Hull Breach, I think. If I can do maths. So we should be able to draw something before then, you'd hope. A Vampire Hexmage. Well, this is a thing that works, right? So you can go black. Might as well use one of these since we've got so much mana. Play out a first striker. So this stops our opponent from attacking us. Do we attack into our opponent's endurance? I don't think so. They would play their endurance if they had it by now. But they might have another Hull Breacher. They're sandbagging. I just don't think it's worth risking our Safekeeper. Because this means if we get our combo, we just win the game. And it's just for one little bit of damage. Come on. Dark Depths. Another Sylvan Safekeeper. Let me just say go here. We're slightly behind on clock, so we need to be pretty quick at passing priority here. Sylvan Scrying. Okay, this is one of the ones we want to cast. We'll play out our Dark Depths. I think we'll play out an additional Sylvan Safekeeper. Dress down is a thing that our opponent can have. But we do have Not of This World, so I think we'll be okay. Basic Island from our opponent there. And a Ponder, sure. If we have a Wasteland, we can just untap and Thespian stage. So we need 2 Wastelands. Right, let's remove some counters from my Dark Depths token. Dress down. Okay. So we're still going to get a 20/20. It's not going to be indestructible. Let's see if our Not of This World works. We do have another one. Swords to Plowshares. Do you have a Force of Will and a blue card? They haven't cast anything for a while, so it's certainly possible. They didn't! We got it. Got the win with the Urborg in play. Let's give a little screenshot for that one. So we're 1-1. We're not being hampered by our Urborg too much. So let's carry on. So this is our opening hand. We have Disruption. We have Sylvan Scrying and Crop Rotation. If we had the real Urborg, we could win. But I think we still keep this. City of Traitors. Chalice of the Void for 1. That can be a little bit of a problem, but we do have a Boseiju. Question is our opponent on white Stompy or red Stompy? Or are they on something else entirely? A Lotus Petal from our opponent as well. Okay. I think we have to play out our Gemstone Mine and pass. We don't actually need the Chalice to go for us to win this game. We can Sylvan Scrying for Dark Depths next turn, and all we need is a black source. Cavern of Souls. This is making me think they are playing the white Stompy, which is the best Stompy deck right now. And according to the recent Legacy Showcase, is the highest win rate in Legacy. But I think that's just for that one tournament. Although the initiative is a very powerful mechanic. I can't imagine what this was like to play against in Pauper. Ridiculous. Okay. So, if you're not familiar with this, when they first get it, they get a basic land into their hand from their deck. And then they can pump their creature, smash us for 5, draw a card, and then look at the top 10 cards and get a creature and make it huge and hexproof. So basically, the initiative can solo us on its own, and it goes up every turn. Ooh, this is close to what we need. So next turn this hits us for 5, 6. The turn after it hits us for another 6, and we take 5. So I think we're okay to cast Sylvan Scrying for a black source. Oh no, but if we get a black source, we can't cast our Hexmage and do our... Oh, this is tricky. We're going to be a turn behind if we do that. I don't think we have a choice though. I think we have to Sylvan Scrying here. So we need a black source. We don't want a black source that hurts us. We might require other coloured sources. So I guess we're looking at Gemstone Mine because this game's not going to go long enough for anything else to matter. Ideally, we need the Lotus Petal. If we draw a Lotus Petal, then we can win this game. If we don't, then I think we lose this game. And that's more or less where it is. We can use the Vampire Hexmage to mess with counters on things, like a Chalice of the Void or a Seasoned Dungeoneer. It just hits us for 6, then it hits us for 7. And we're also taking 5 in the meantime from this rather potent little thing. What is this going to be? A White Plume? An Anointed Peacekeeper. Okay, so this probably wins them the game because they can name Vampire Hexmage here. We can't do anything about that. They have named Vampire Hexmage. Oakley dokley. How do we get out of this one? If we play Dark Depths, we don't do anything. So this is hitting us for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they have got exactly lethal on board. I think we concede. I think people are a bit hasty calling for bans on the white deck at the moment, but I do think it is a tier 1 deck. I think it's very strong. Dismember is a possibility. The Collector Ouphe has text, it's okay. The Force of Vigor is good here. Sylvan Safekeeper is pretty good here. We don't need these Pithing Needles because our opponent is not a Wasteland deck. They are a Stompy deck. The Stifles, you can stifle the trigger on the come into play for the dungeon. I don't know if that's really worth my time. I don't think it is really. Our discard is good here. Our crop rotation and things are good here. So we've got 3 cards we need to cut from here. So basically, instead of Stifle, we can kill the guy. So still go up the thing, but they're not bashing us for 5 on turn 2 or whatever. So I think that's better. And I think we need our Mana Acceleration to go hard and fast here. Do we need Not of This World? Is that better than Sylvan Safekeeper? I think so. So we probably don't need those, even though they are green cards. Then we have to cut one other thing. The Sylvan Scrying is quite slow, but it does find our combo. Do we have the ability to cut any of our lands in this matchup? Maybe we can trim 1 Lotus Petal. Is it worth trimming a single Lotus Petal? I don't think so. I think we need to keep all of our mana here. The Karakas doesn't really do anything against their deck. I don't think they run any legends at all. The Tower of the Magistrate can deal with the Stoneforge Mystic if they're on the Stoneforge Mystic, but we also have all these other things which is better. So I'm going to submit like this. So this hand, what does it do? It's very slow. I think we need to have a faster hand. What about this hand? This hand makes a turn 1 Collector Ouphe, which can shut off our opponent's Lotus Petals. It can also make a turn 1 Thoughtseize, which is probably better here. And we have this Force of Vigor. I think we keep this. And we're getting rid of probably the Force of Vigor, I would say. So done. So we're going to lead off, I think we lead off on the Thoughtseize here. We're kind of into this horrible reactive type deck right now. So what have we got? Swords to Plowshares, Thalia. So none of these. So their hand is not really impacted by what I wanted to do here. There's a lot of Swords to Plowshares. Then we get rid of the Thalia because that's their way of actually putting some damage on us. And then we say go. At the moment, they just have an entirely reactive hand, which is kind of what we have. So we're both kind of in the wind. We should have left the Pithing Needles in for Karakas, actually, thinking about it. That's my bad. Crop rotation. Okay. This is getting us somewhere. I think we do just play this guy out using green from this. I imagine this will get Swords to Plowshares at some point, but that's fine. It's 1 less Swords to Plowshares to worry about later. Sure. So there goes our Collector Ouphe. That's our opponent's turn. We can Dismember in a pinch, but our opponent's hand doesn't look that great right now, to be honest. There's their Karakas. And it's our turn. A Ghost Quarter. So that gives us an answer to the Karakas if we want it. We need a second crop rotation before we need to worry about anything here. So we could Spirit Guide and have a 2/2, but I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. I think we just pass and use that mana later on when we crop rotation and try and get ourselves our combo pieces. So we could always go and get Dark Depths now and start paying mana into it. But I don't think that's a 10-turn line. I don't think that's good enough. Sylvan Scrying. Okay, so this is good. So this gets us, use the green from this. And we will Sylvan Scrying. This will get us a Dark Depths. And we will play our Dark Depths. So this turn, we can crop rotate this away to a Thespian stage and then use these two to make our 20/20. So we have the kill if they tap down their Karakas. Obviously we have to get around this Solitude and this Swords. So we're probably going to need a little bit more protection before we can do this. There's the Amiria's call. Seasoned Dungeoneer. So our opponent has the ability to Source to Plowshare as our guy. So I don't think we can do anything now. We can hit this with a Dismember. We can do that next turn after when they go to put the counters on it. Yeah, so it still uses the stack. So I can do that. So I think we play out this Elvish Spirit Guide in the hopes that we get to Dismember their guy and then take the initiative off them. This is going to hit us for 4, but this would hit us for 4 anyway. So we have to let this go to the next stage, right? And then they target this, and then we kill it. Oh, they're going for the Scry. I see. Okay. Problem with us taking the initiative is that we don't have any lands to find off of it. But we can stop them from having the initiative return, which is worth doing. I think we do just kill the Dungeoneer if it attacks though. Sure. So there goes the Dungeoneer. We need to find a Sylvan Safekeeper, I think. A Solitude. This is a hard cast Solitude to get rid of our Elvish Spirit Guide. Sure. This is so that they get the Explore. But no, they still don't get the Explore, right? No. Okay. That's our turn. Force of Vigor. Doesn't actually do anything on this board. What is our play now? We can play out our Elvish Spirit Guide because it blocks the opponent here. Green, green, green. This can block a Solitude. Solitude is gone from their hand as well. It's not pretty, but it's the best we've got right now. We need to find Sylvan Safekeeper. That's how we break this game open. If you have the Sylvan Safekeeper, I think we can win. Another Solitude, though. Okay. So next time they're going to get a 4/1 Menace Skeleton. And they still have a Source to Plowshares in hand. Or an Urborg. Very exciting. So we can make creatures lose first strike. That's always exciting. It is just another land that we get to shuffle away with a crop rotation. We don't have any defensive lands in this situation either. So we might be hard pressed soon to make our creature so we can get Source to Plowshares and gain some more life, which is horrible, and I don't want that to be the thing that we do. But it is an option. The Stifle can hit Solitude trigger, but like I said before, the Sylvan Safekeeper does the same thing. So we're going to get clocked pretty hard here. Nothing we can do about it. Another Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yep. So this goes and gets them into the Throne of the Dead 3, which, as you're about to see, is pretty broken. So you look at the top 10 cards, you get a creature from among them onto the battlefield. This card. Okay, we don't want this to happen. So we're going to cast this. We're going to get ourselves a Thespian state. And then you can exile our Force of Vigor, which means we can't also cast it for our... Can we... Is it cast from your hand? No, you can still cast it from wherever. So if we gain 20 life, we're on 31. This is 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And we are currently not in a dungeon. Whenever one or more creatures... no, they still venture into the Undercity, but it won't give them lethal. So we don't make the token then. A crop rotation. Okay. This works. This is one... So these two tap for this, and then we can crop rotation into Sejiri Steppe. So we have a line. Unfortunately, our guy doesn't kill in 2 turns. So we are in some trouble, I would say. So in come the guys. So they get to give one of their guys protection from creatures. Sure. Taps for green. Taps for black. Copy our... We would like to keep this one. So now they're going to Swords to Plowshares this. Token of the Spirit Realm. Sure. We will rotate our Urborg away. This at least forces the Swords to Plowshares. Solitude, okay. Not the same as Swords to Plowshares, but similar. We are quite far behind now, obviously, because they can kill us on their next turn. I think we can just concede the game. They'll clock us on the next turn. So that was the end of that round. We go into another round. Okay, so we're on the play. This hand doesn't really go anywhere. I think we have to mulligan. This hand, because we don't have proper Urborg in our deck, this is definitely not keeper. I think we have to mulligan. I think this is fine. We've got protection. We've got our colours. I think we can get rid of a Mana Confluence. And might have to be the Boseiju here. Just because we might need black. We say done. We'll play this out. And cast this on Wasteland. A Swamp. A Duress. So we're going to lose our Not of this world. Not the end of the world. That's our turn. So we drew the Hexmage. So just play this out. And I'm trying to think if we're incentivized to play our creature out now. Or to wait a turn. If they have removal spells, the removal spells can hit our 2020 instead. So I think this is better. If they have Sudden Edict, it kills Vampire Hexmage anyway. If they have Dark Depth, if they have a discard effect, they can take it out of our hand. Street Wraith. Okay, so our opponent is on Doomsday. That'll be my guess. Death Shadow tends to only run non-basics. It could be on some other brew. Basic Island and Basic Swamp. You don't see that every day. So next time we get a 2020. And the turn after we kill our opponent. Dark Ritual. So this is a Doomsday our opponent's casting here. Sure. Okay, our opponent's finished resolving their Doomsday. We can have a little look at what they put. So... the Thassa's Oracle. So they have 2 Thassa's Oracles. That's fine. Can I see a Lion's Eye Diamond here? No. It says 1 Street Wraith, 1 Edge of Autumn. No Lion's Eye Diamond, so we're looking at a diamond pile, I think. Okay. A Crop Rotation. Now, is there anything we can use that for? So we can Ghost Quarter our opponent. Actually, that's pretty good. I think we attack with this. Get 2 points of damage in while we can. And then we are going to try for a Crop Rotation for Ghost Quarter. Okay, so they've got a Force of Will here. And they pitched a Daze. Sure. So I was going to Crop Rotation, hit their blue source, because they might not have another blue source. They might only have 1 more blue source in their deck. And I could also shuffle their deck and mess with the alignment of it, which can buy us a turn or 2, which is all we need, because we're going to hit them for lethal next turn, if we get another turn. Lion's Eye Diamond. Sure. So they're going to cast some sort of cantrip effect and then sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, they just have Deep Analysis. Sure. So this draws them the cards, and then they just cast the Thassa's Oracle and beat us. And we do not have a Stifle here. They're going to 1 life. Thassa's Oracle. Sure. So we concede here. Right, that's a little bit unfortunate. I think we were very close, that one. So what is going to be useful here? Flusterstorm can counterspell the Doomsday when they cast it. Collector Ouphe can slow them down a little bit, but isn't amazing. Not of this world. It's not great. The needles and stuff, they can hit Street Wraiths, which is not nothing, but it's also not amazing either. I think I like Sylvan Safekeeper over Not of This World here, because Sylvan Safekeeper can actually beat down a little bit, and it can mess up the amount of damage they can take through things like Street Wraiths. And then we have 2 cards to cut, so I think we're cutting a Pithing Needle, and we either cut another Pithing Needle, I think, or Not of This World. Those are the 2 ones I'm most inclined to cut. I think it's probably a Pithing Needle. I think that's right. Let's submit. If this was the real Urborg, I'd be quite happy. but it is not. But we can still keep. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. This does still make a turn 2 2020. So we'll play out a Lotus Petal. We'll play out the wrong Urborg. And we'll say go. I suspect our opponent has looked at that and gone, oh. Misty Rainforest. So we can stifle this if we want to. I don't know if that's worth doing right now. I think we just let that go. Because this is going to get us our 2020. A Brainstorm, sure. Because this is the wrong Urborg, we don't get to play around days. Now, our opponent's on the draw. So days probably isn't a thing that they're pretty big on right now. We'll play this out. We'll cast this. Black. Black. If we get dazed, then, yep, that's a loss to having the wrong Urborg in the deck. We didn't get dazed, which means we get to make a 2020 next turn. So our opponent has to make a pile and win with it this turn. Or they have to have an answer to a 2020 indestructible. And they have blue spells in their decks. They might be able to bounce it. Okay, so they're cracking a Misty Rainforest. They did mulligan quite hard this game, so there's a Street Wraith. Sure. They're just looking for an answer here. I don't know if they run Chain of Vapor. I think it is just the Brazen Borrower that we got to watch out for. So if they're tapping here, that means we're probably fine. Like, we're still going to go for it end of turn. There's no reason not to. Okay, so they have a Lotus Petal. And they're going to duress us. Sure. So we're going to lose the crop rotation maybe here. Because the crop rotation could be used to give our creature protection. Yeah, the crop rotation's gone. Even though we don't have green mana for it right now. So our opponent has just a Lotus Petal worth of mana. They've got to have it. They mull to 5, so we've got to make them have it. Is there anything we can play with Pithing Needle beforehand that stops this? I don't think so. I think we just attack. 20 of your finest damages, please. They have a Chain of Vapor. They do have a Chain of Vapor. I will not sacrifice a land. So we'll play this out. Play this out. Naming Street Wraith. Could have named Edge of Autumn. But Edge of Autumn at least cost them a resource. Because at the moment I'm not pressuring their life total. Their life total is going to be either 0 or whatever it is now. I thought it was weird that our opponent waited till we attacked to Chain of Vapor our creature. We could have drawn a Knot of this World. Okay, a Personal Tutor. So our opponent gets to Doomsday next turn. It'll probably be a pass the turn pile. Thespian Stage. If this was the correct Urborg, we get to win now. It is not the correct Urborg, which is sad. So we're finally taking our first loss proper to this Urborg being the wrong Urborg. There's the Doomsday. We can't Flusterstorm because we've got no blue mana. Right, so let's see what's in the pile. I can see 2 Edge of Autumn sticking out. There's a Street Wraith there, Street Wraith there, Street Wraith there. They're on the Opposition Agent build. Is there a Lion's Eye Diamond to be seen? Can't see a Lion's Eye Diamond. So they're doing a Deep Analysis pile. Boseiju. That can shuffle our opponent's pile or it can make us a 2020. Do you think our opponent can definitely kill us on this turn they're about to have? So if they have one card in hand, they have no cards in hand. No cards in hand. So what could they draw? How many Edge of Autumns they normally play? It's 2 and 3 Street Wraiths, right? 1. And they can't put Street Wraiths in there. I don't think they can kill us on their next turn. I think we might be able to win. It's certainly possible. With one card and no access to Street Wraiths, I don't think they can win this turn. I think we might be able to get them. Unless the top card that they've put in is just a... They just put a load of bounce spells and then a Thassa's Oracle. But we didn't have a choice. We got a jam. The Chain of Vapor is in their exile pile, so we might be alright here. Sylvan Scrying. Can we Sylvan Scrying first? This gives us a blue land here, so we should be fine at that point. We cast 2 spells. So we can't counter a Chain of Vapor, I don't think. We can counter Petty Theft. Yeah! We managed to get one. Alright, let's go back to sideboarding. So, they've brought in quite a lot of respect for what we're doing with our Not of This World. For what we're doing, sorry. So I think Not of This World is a useful thing that we can have. But that means you've got to trim on something else. So the Safekeeper and Not of This World kind of do the same thing. But I guess the logic is probably the same as it was before, where these beat down, these ones don't. Sorry, these beat down, these ones don't. So maybe we were right all along. Do you want a Pithing Needle over a Stifle? Tricky. I think we submit like this. So this has discard and makes a turn 2 Marit Lage. Sorry, this is definitely a keep in my books. Hopefully they don't turn 1 Doomsday us. Just have like a ponder. Just a ponder, please. A duress. Okay, so we're going to lose something important here. So I took our Lotus Petals. That slows us down a turn. If this was the correct Urborg, it would slow us down a turn. Right, so let's play this out. And let's Inquisition our opponent. What are you working with? They've got a Doomsday. They've got Edge of Autumn. So their hand is real stacked here. I think we have to take the Doomsday here. At least force them into more turns of having to personal tutor and stuff. And they also need to find a Dark Ritual or an additional mana. Because if they put a land on top, if they put the Doomsday on top, then they won't have the land immediately. And they can expose themselves to getting discarded again. Thoughtseize. So we're probably losing our Vampire Hexmage this turn. Yep, there it goes. And there's a Brainstorm. So we still have the combo in hand. It's just going to take us a bit longer. Thoughtseize is a good one. We'll probably want to play out land first, though. Let's play out... Oh, if we play out our Urborg, we can crop rotate things away if we need to. If we play out our Thespian stage, gets us quicker to combo. I think that's probably where we want to be. Let's Thoughtseize you. Playing around days. So we've got a duress and a personal tutor. So we take the personal tutor, leave them with a duress, and we have a 20/20 in a couple of turns. Again, if this was the proper Urborg, we'd have won the game by now. We might still win the game. Okay, there's a duress we knew about. There goes our crop rotation. And it's back to us. Sylvan Safekeeper is a pretty good one. So, play out the... Does it matter which way we play it out this turn? Play out the Dark Depths and play out Sylvan Safekeeper. So, next time we can make a 20/20 and we have the ability to protect it twice. Alright. There's an Urborg. Our opponent has opposition agent in their deck, so I'm not attacking with my Sylvan Safekeeper. Can you Doomsday and win this turn? Street Wraith. Ponder. Oh. Might be getting there. An Edge of Autumn. An Edge of Autumn. Yeah, we got there. Alright, screen cap for the rubbish Urborg taking it down. Right, so that's we got one more round to go to see if we can get all of our play points back. So what does this hand do? It's very slow to get where we want to be. I think we can do better. This constitutes better. This is a turn 2 guy, so we will keep this. We have to get rid of one of our cards. It's a little bit tricky to work out what goes here. It could be the crop rotation or it could be the Inquisition of Kozilek. Depends what our opponent shows us on turn 1. Depends on which one of these would be better to keep. I think I'm going to get rid of the crop rotation. Because if our opponent starts on a blue land, we can start out with the Inquisition of Kozilek. So I think for the first turn, we just play out our Thespian stage and our Petal. And then if they play a blue land, I think we're incentivized to play the Inquisition first. Street Wraith. Okay, so we might be looking at Death Shadow or Doomsday again. 2 Street Wraiths. A Badlands. A Faith is Looting. I don't know what my opponent's doing. I'm interested though. This makes me think that just jamming is the best thing we can do. Oh, the Madness. Okay. That makes sense. So our clock is way better than theirs. Because we just kill them next turn. Well, not on our next turn, but with one more turn. Lion's Eye Diamond, sure. Hollow one. Yep, so this gets the Vengevine back. Hits us for 4. And there's a hollow one there. So I assume we're getting bashed up for 4 this turn. They can try and Faith is Looting into something using their Lion's Eye Diamond. But it basically just have to be the 1 mana guys. And I don't think that's worth them doing. Yep, so we'll take our damage here. So our opponent has no way of interacting with our combo, I don't think. But we can always fire off this Inquisition and then use these 2 to power out our Dark Depths. So I think we do that. Let's see what you're working with. Now, making our opponent discard things, not always great. So have an Ox of Agonis. Okay, that's fine. The information is fine there. So we have a Dark Depths token this turn, and then they hit us for 12, 13, 14, 15. So but we're just going to jump a guy in the way because they shouldn't be able to interact with it. We might even see what they draw by what they play. If they play a land that we haven't seen or something. Tiger, we've seen that one. Okay, they're just going for the Faith is Looting here. So all these are in the bin now. And we get to win the game. Attack with all the guys. Sure. We'll copy this. Exile this. Exile. Keep this one. Get ourselves a 2020. Goodbye, hollow one. Goodbye, opponent. Oh, I was going to play the Urborg. Alright, so our opponent's playing Madness. So, Leyline of the Void isn't as good against Madness as you think it would be. What it does do is stop Vengevines. It stops Ox of Agonis as well, but it's mainly the Vengevine. So it's fine, but I don't know if it's good enough. The Dismember, again, is fine. Like, if you hit one of the hollow ones, it's fine. If you hit Vengevine, it kind of just delays the 4 damage you take, but then you take it anyway, so it's kind of like cost neutral by the end of it. I'm not sure how good our discard is. I'm just going to have a quick look at what Madness decks play. Okay, so the card we're worried about our opponent having is Run Afoul, which makes me sacrifice a creature with flying. So, these aren't going to be useful. The Stifle is actually going to be alright here. The Pithing Needles, I don't think they do anything. They can stop some discard. So they can stop some Street Race, and they can stop the pump on the Root Wallers, but I don't think that's worth a slot in our deck. I think we just board in these and board out those, and that looks about fine to me. So this makes... What does this do? This makes one... So turn 1, I play this. Turn 2, I have Crop Rotation and 1 spare mana. If this was real Urborg, we'd be okay. I don't know if this is quick enough. Maybe we need a Vampire Hexmage hand to beat this matchup. It's hard to say. It depends how good our opponent's first turn is. I think we'll keep... Partly the logic is if our opponent casts Burning Inquiry and we just end up with losing random amounts of cards, then we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Okay, this is good for us. This is not a threatening opening start. Okay. Okay, they're just making some hollow ones. That's why they discarded the lands first. Sure. Oh, they have 2 hollow ones. Okay. Now, it's quite a lot of damage for the old turn 1. Let's see if we can do anything about this. Leyline of the Void. That's not really going to do anything for us, is it? Do we have any good lands we can fetch? None of our lands really do anything here. So I think we are playing out Dark Depths and Lotus Petal. And then the plan is we take this damage, because we don't really have a choice to take the 10 here, and then maybe draw into the Hexmage next turn, and that wins us the game. Just. They're not attacking with Putrid Imp. Interesting. I guess it flies. So. But when the time comes, we'll be able to crop rotate for it. Sylvan Scrying. It's not really great for us, is it? So next turn, they don't kill us. So we get one more turn, but that turn's probably not going to be good enough to do anything, is it? If this was a real Urborg, I think we'd be in a better spot, but obviously it's not, so we can crop rotate into Yavimaya. Yavimaya for Thespians, and then Sylvan Scrying for Thespian stage, and then next turn we get to go. Probably the best we have available to us right now. They're definitely going to attack us anyway, so I don't think we really have a choice here. So I think we crop rotate now. Sacrificing this. Go and get the Yavimaya. Sylvan Scrying. Go and get the Dark Depths. Not the Dark Depths, sorry, the Thespian stage. This means we don't have the crop rotation to push through against the Putrid Imp. So we're going to have to find another one of those as well. So we're kind of in trouble in a lot of angles. Okay, so this is lethal damage now. Because they have 8, 9, 10, 11 on board. Sure. Let's see if they attack with everything like they didn't last turn. So I suspect they will this turn because they have Exactsies on board. Come in, get your damages. Damages taken. Sure. So now we go back to sideboarding. I don't have a problem with anything we did sideboarding wise. I think we could have kept a better hand. The Force of Vigor blowing up hollow ones might be something we want to look at. Is that going to be better than Dismember? Might be. Maybe that's the thing we want. It kind of stops their most broken hands, I think. but they might not have artifact guys, so our Force of Vigors might look bad if we do that. Whereas this could clear the way for the win. It's tricky. I think we submit like this though. I think we were right first time. This time we're just trying to bop them super quick. So this is a turn 2 Marit Lage with no protection though. We can keep this. Let's get this. And we need a black source. So we have to play this Bojuka Bog tapped. Next turn, we get to make Marit Lage, as long as we don't lose our Hexmage and crop rotation from our hand, which can happen with a Burning Inquiry. The thing that makes me sack a flyer is a definite issue here, but hopefully our opponent won't. Okay, so they're looking at a really strong opener here. Faith is Looting, sure. What are we seeing? You've got to think a turn 2 2020 is enough to beat 1/1s. It's just the thing that kills our flyer that I'm worried about. Makes us sacrifice our flyer. I'm just trying to think if there's a way that we can get around that. I don't think there is. Our opponent still has to have green mana up to do that though. Which means I'm not playing this Yavimaya. So I don't want to give our opponent green mana just in case they don't have green mana available right now. So we play our Gemstone Mine here. I think we go black for Vampire Hexmage. I think we crop rotate now. I think we get rid of Gemstone Mine because we have a Yavimaya here. Go and get ourselves a Dark Depths. Our opponent does not have Wasteland in their deck. So Putrid Imp is one of the things they can play here. Burning Inquiry. Sure. That's fine by me. So if they play this Anjo's Ravager, they're dead to what I have on board because I have to crack their Lion's Eye Diamond to do it. Okay, so they're dead on board. Cool. I don't think I've missed any tricks here. They do have 3 mana up, so they can Faithless Looting, possibly into an Anger, which gives that Anjo Ravager haste, which then can draw them 3 cards. I think that's about the level of line we're looking at. Okay, we got the victory. Alright, so let's look at the deck. We went 3 and 2, which is, for a deck that's not running 4 important cards and is running this card instead, I feel that's not too bad, to be honest. I think there were definitely games where we were slowed down because of the Urborg, but we didn't necessarily lose because of the Urborg, I think. Although there was one where we shipped a hand back that we could have kept if it was proper Urborg. So we just couldn't keep that hand, I think, if I remember rightly. So it probably cost us, it might have cost us around somewhere along the lines, but I think it cost us a game. I don't think it necessarily cost us a round. But, yeah. Don't put this card in your deck, is my advice if you play this deck. Play the proper Urborg. So, but you must admit, today was a fun one, right? I didn't mean to be trolling people, but we managed to ruin some people's day by killing them with an Urborg, so can't say fairer than that. I think this deck is very powerful. Making a 2020 is just strong. Unfortunately, I think the white stompy deck that is kind of one of the big players in the format right now until people work out the best ways to beat it, that deck can really smash through 2020s and not care. Like the 20 life you gain doesn't really matter because their clock is so big. It's maybe 1 turn of damage for them. And they have 4 swords and 4 solitude, which is a decent amount to get through. Like our opponent did have like 3 of those effects in their opening hand. So we did get a little bit unlucky with quite how many they had. And they did draw another solitude and I think another swords as well. So it's not ideal. I think the Sylvan Safekeeper in the sideboard is very good. Big fan of that. The blue cards, the Stifle never really felt that useful. I think having more discard would have been more effective for me in this league. Obviously, this league isn't representative of every league I ever play. But I think maybe having more would have been useful. The Flusterstorms out the board, though, they were good. We managed to win games because of the Flusterstorm. So definitely a big supporter of having that in the sideboard. It's a very powerful card. In terms of Leyline versus Surgical Extraction, some people have the 2-2 split. I'm not sure what the right way to have it is. I think you just need to have the big turn 0 that can't be discarded. I've spoken about this before on the channel, where an Endurance or a Surgical Extraction doesn't beat Reanimator most of the time, because what they do is they get to discard your hand first usually and then go off. But what the Surgical Extraction does do that the Leyline doesn't is you can bring it in against decks with all of this white removal and hit their removal spell, and so you can kind of grind through things. I used to play green-black depths, and I used to play like a Mox Diamond Life of Malone build, so it was a little bit slower and had Dark Confident. Part of that reason for playing that was because Not of This World was weirdly a really difficult card to find. So I used to just play that one. I actually preferred it though because you could sort of wasteland lock people, and if you know me, I love wastelanding people. It's my jam. Obviously this deck can't do that, but I don't think you really want to try and fit in a Life of Malone package here. I don't think that's going to be worthwhile here. I think it's just better to have the things to make sure your first one sticks, which is what this deck does quite effectively. With the Stifles, actually, I'd almost be tempted to have the Sylvan Safekeepers in the main deck. They felt that good. It's also a creature that can get around Sudden Edicts because there is an uptick in these Black Helm decks as well. But overall, I really like this list. If the Urborgs were proper Urborgs, I think it'd be better, obviously. The Yavimaya is an interesting one because what it does do is it turns on Submerges, which Delver decks play. So one of the sort of reasons you might want to play Rainbow depths rather than just straight black-green. Obviously, you know, you have Flusterstorm and Stifle, which are fine. But not being able to be submerged is another bonus for that. I don't think Stifle alone is worth playing blue for. I don't think the Flusterstorm necessarily is worth playing for, but they're kind of free with this mana base. And the Gemstone Mine is basically a free land for you because you can always throw it away quite easily. But with the uptick in mono white stompy stuff, having a basic land to get off of the initiative if you're hitting with a little guy might be worthwhile. Not sure. So maybe you might want a swamp instead of the Yavimaya, perhaps. But the Yavimaya turns on so many of your things. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. I have to have a think. But yeah, the deck felt good. Having 3 Pithing Needles instead of 4, which some of the lists have, felt fine to me. I didn't have any issues with that. They were fine. All right, a little chat about the sideboard. The Collector Ouphe Force of Vigor split is interesting to me because the Collector Ouphe, in the matchups where you want it, it's often a thing that you want to put in on turn 1, which means you are using a Lotus Petal. And yes, so it means you don't want to board out your Lotus Petal, which means you can open yourself up to some dead draws, which is not ideal. But again, it's also not the end of the world because it's going to hurt them more than you. So, Force of Vigor, obviously, just a very good card. The Dismember didn't feel like it was doing the most. I think there could be an argument for playing something like Toxic Deluge, perhaps, or even having since we're in blue anyway, having bounce spells in those slots because they're more flexible. So you might be able to bounce some stuff around a little bit. Like, you're not really winning a protracted game against creatures. So the Dismember is there to take out specific problem creatures that you might have. Things like Magus of the Moon. But if your opponent's playing a Magus of the Moon on you, like, you're kind of relying on just your Lotus Petals anyway. So I guess the Dismember makes sense in that run instead of playing the the bounce spells, because at least you can cast that whilst you've been mooned. So maybe that's fine. And then you also have the Force of Vigors to cast. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like, obviously I've not played this for a while, and I was given this list by some people who do play it, and it makes sense what they've come up with actually. I'm still not sure about the Leyline split. Something I would be interested in is some sort of brainstorm, because you can end up, if your first thing does get answered, having the way to sort of re-keep your hand. And we do have the shuffle effects in the crop rotations and the Sylvan Scryings. Now, that's not a lot of shuffle effects, granted, but it could be worthwhile. Oh, another thing about having a basic is there was a game where if I'd have had a basic in my deck to Ghost Quarter for, I could have won on a certain turn, but that wasn't a thing I had, so I couldn't do that. So that might be worth thinking about, just as a way to fix your mana. But obviously, if you had proper Urborgs in your deck, maybe that wouldn't be necessary either. So, yeah, I think we've rambled on about this one enough. I really like depths, and I hope you're enjoying the first of my Depthsember videos. I'm not going to do every day this month on depths videos, but I'm just going to try and pepper in quite a few. Maybe I'll do 12 for the 12 days of Christmas. Who knows? But I'm definitely going to play increasingly weird and peculiar depths builds. So if you like watching people play depths of different kinds, please subscribe to my channel. And if you're still here, it means you've enjoyed my video, and you should subscribe to my channel, please. Likes, comments, they're all great. And if you know people like Legacy, just share it, because it's a great format, and I want as many people as possible to enjoy the format, especially since it's quite affordable on Magic Online compared to paper. I think it's something that more people should be getting into. It's really fun. All right, that's me done for today. So thank you for watching this Urborg infested league, and I will say goodbye.